Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that someone had been inside your home, not just once, every single night, for years. They read your letters, they listened to your conversations, they copied everything, your notes, your photos, your private thoughts, and then they packaged all of it, put a price tag on it, and sold it back to you as a service. That is not a metaphor. That is not science fiction. That is the core accusation inside a $3 billion federal lawsuit that has just landed on Microsoft's doorstep. $3 billion. That number alone should stop you cold. But here is what should make your blood run even colder. The lawsuit claims Microsoft and OpenAI did not steal $3 billion worth of information from corporations or governments. They allegedly stole it from ordinary people. People like you. People sitting at their computers, using the internet, going about their lives, completely unaware that every word they typed, every conversation they had, every search they made was being quietly scooped up by machines running in the background. And here is the part that makes this truly outrageous. Microsoft then used all of that stolen information to build one of the most profitable artificial intelligence empires on the planet. And now they are selling that intelligence back to the very same people they took it from for a monthly fee. Stay with us, because in the next 15 minutes, we are going to show you exactly how this happened, who made the decisions, what the lawsuit actually says, what it means for your privacy right now, and what you can do about it. This is Behind the Tech, and this story is about you. Let's go back, not too far. Just to the moment the heist began. In the early 2000s, a group of researchers in Silicon Valley became obsessed with one idea. What if you could teach a machine to think like a human? Not just follow instructions, but actually understand language, understand context, understand you. The problem was simple. To teach a machine to think like a human, you need an almost incomprehensible amount of human thought, human writing, human conversation, human ideas. You need essentially the entire recorded output of human civilization. So where do you get something like that? You go where humans have already done the work for you. The internet? Think about what the open internet actually is. It is hundreds of billions of pages of human-generated content. It is Reddit threads where people poured their hearts out about their divorces, their medical diagnoses, their fears about money. It is online forums where veterans talked about what they saw in Korea and Vietnam. It is comment sections, personal blogs, recipe websites, news articles, Amazon reviews, church newsletters, all of it written by real people with real lives for their own purposes. Nobody writing any of that content thought they were donating it to a corporation's artificial intelligence program. The lawsuit alleges that OpenAI, with Microsoft's backing and billions of dollars in funding, scraped over 300 billion words from the internet. 300 billion. If you read at average speed, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it would take you more than 3,000 years to read all of it. And they did it without asking a single person for permission. Now, who made these decisions? Two names you need to know: Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. Under his watch, Microsoft did not just observe the AI race from the sidelines. They made a strategic bet, a $10 billion bet on a startup called OpenAI, founded and led by a man named Sam Altman. Sam Altman, a man who, for years, publicly spoke about the importance of being careful with artificial intelligence, who wrote about the dangers of building systems that could harm society, and who then, apparently, decided that those concerns were less important than getting to the market first. Together, Nadella and Altman built something extraordinary, but the lawsuit now says they built it on a foundation that did not belong to them. And here is the question that should be sitting in the back of your mind right now. If they were willing to take this much without asking at the beginning, what are they willing to take now? We will get to that. But first, let's look at exactly what the lawsuit says they did. Now, lawsuits can be dense. They are written by lawyers for lawyers in language designed to put normal people to sleep before they reach page 3. So let us break this down the way you would explain it to a neighbor over the fence. The plaintiffs, the people suing, are arguing 3 core things. First, Microsoft and OpenAI took personal data without consent. This is not a gray area under the law. In most of the United States and under federal standards that have developed over decades, you cannot simply take someone's private information and use it for commercial purposes without their knowledge or permission. The lawsuit argues that is precisely what happened, at a scale that has never been seen before in the history of American corporate behavior. Second, they use that data to create a commercial product. This is the part that turns a privacy violation into something far more serious. If someone breaks into your house and sits in your chair, that is bad enough. But if they break in, steal your family recipes, open a restaurant, and charge people $40 a plate, that is a different crime entirely. The lawsuit argues that OpenAI's GPT models and Microsoft's Copilot, the AI assistant now embedded across all of Microsoft's products, were built directly on this illegally obtained data. And those products now generate billions of dollars in revenue every year. Third, and this is the one that should make every person watching this genuinely angry, they are now charging you to use what they allegedly stole from you. Think about that for a moment. According to this lawsuit, Microsoft and OpenAI took your words, your conversations, your private writing. They fed it into a machine. The machine learned from it. And now they are selling that machine back to you for $20 a month. That is not a business model. That is a con. The legal framework here is significant. The lawsuit touches on multiple areas of law, copyright violations for creative and written content that was scraped without licensing, consumer protection laws, and privacy statutes. There are also parallel legal battles in Europe, where regulators under stricter privacy laws have been circling both companies for years. But here is the thing, and this is the uncomfortable truth that most coverage of this story skips over entirely. Winning this lawsuit is not guaranteed, not even close. Microsoft has an army of lawyers. They will argue that publicly available content on the internet is, in some interpretations, fair game for training data. They will argue that they did nothing explicitly prohibited under law at the time. And they may well be right, not because what they did was ethical, but because the laws governing artificial intelligence and data scraping are, frankly, still catching up to the technology. Which brings us to the part of this story that does not make the headlines. The part that is happening right now in your home, on your computer. If you use a Windows computer, and the majority of people in America do, you need to understand something that Microsoft quietly announced last year and hoped you would not pay too much attention to. It is called recall. Here is what recall does in plain English. Every few seconds, it takes a screenshot of everything on your screen, every document you open, every website you visit, every email you read, every photo you look at, every message you type. It captures all of it, continuously, and it stores it, searchable, indexed, organized, so that Microsoft's AI can help you find it later. Microsoft presented this as a convenience feature. They called it your personal AI assistant for your memory. Let us think about what that actually means. Right now, on Windows 11 machines with certain hardware, Microsoft's software is potentially watching everything you do and recording it. If you visit a medical website to research a diagnosis, Recall sees it. If you open a financial statement from your bank, Recall sees it. If you have a private conversation through any messaging app on your computer, Recall sees it. Now, Microsoft says this data is stored locally on your device. They say it is encrypted. They say it never leaves your machine without your permission. But here is what they said about the data they scraped to train their AI. They said it was already publicly available, so there was nothing wrong with taking it. History has a way of reminding us how much corporate promises are worth. There is a pattern here that goes beyond any one lawsuit or one product. Microsoft's Copilot is now built into Windows itself. It is integrated into Word, Excel, Outlook, and Teams. Every document you write, every email you send, every spreadsheet you build, all of it flows through systems that are connected to Microsoft's AI infrastructure. This is not about convenience. This is about control. The more of your behavior that flows through their systems, the more data they have, the more valuable their AI becomes, and the more dependent you become on their ecosystem. It is a lock-in strategy that would make the old-school monopolists of the 20th century blush. And there is one thing worth remembering about this channel. We have been watching these power structures for a long time. The story of how one company can own not just your software, but your behavior, your data, and your habits. That is a story with a long history. We will be revisiting it. If you find yourself wanting to go deeper on how we got here, on the full history of Microsoft's monopolistic behavior going back to the 90s, you should hit that subscribe button because that story is coming. And it is going to reframe everything you think you know about the company. But right now, let us talk about what happens next. Here is what most legal analysts will tell you about this lawsuit. Quietly, off the record, when the cameras are not rolling. Microsoft will probably not lose this case in court, not because they are innocent, but because companies this large and this powerful rarely lose cases like this in court. They settle, they pay, they continue. Remember when Facebook paid $5 billion to the Federal Trade Commission for privacy violations? That sounds like a massive penalty. And it was, until you realize that Facebook made $5 billion in profit every few weeks at that point. The fine barely registered. Facebook changed almost nothing about its core data collection practices. This is the playbook. Deny, delay, negotiate, pay a fraction, move on. What a settlement does not do is answer the core question. Did Microsoft and OpenAI build their empire on data they had no right to take? And if they did, who holds them accountable in a way that actually changes their behavior? Congress has held hearing after hearing on artificial intelligence and data privacy. They have asked serious questions and received answers filled with technical language designed to confuse rather than clarify. Meaningful legislation on AI data rights has stalled repeatedly. The regulators in Europe are moving faster, but even European fines, which can reach into the billions, have not fundamentally changed the behavior of companies operating at this scale. So what does that leave? It leaves you and the choices you make about what technology you allow into your life. Here is what you can actually do. Not theoretical advice, but practical steps. On Windows 11, if Recall has been enabled on your device, you can disable it through the privacy and security settings. It is not turned on by default for most users yet, but it is worth checking. Navigate to Settings, then Privacy and Security, and look for the AI-related features and recall options. Turn them off. Review what Microsoft Copilot has access to in your account. Microsoft provides a privacy dashboard at privacy.microsoft.com where you can see what data is associated with your account and request deletion of certain categories. Consider your email. If you use Outlook, especially through Microsoft 365, understand that your emails flow through Microsoft servers. That is not a secret, but most people do not think about what it means when those servers are now also connected to AI training infrastructure. And perhaps most importantly, ask questions. Ask the companies whose products you use exactly what data they collect, how they use it, and whether your data is used to train their AI systems. Under the California Consumer Privacy Act and similar state laws, you have the right to know. Use it. None of this is a complete solution, but it is the beginning of something important. the refusal to be passive. Let us end with the question that matters most. Not will Microsoft win or lose this lawsuit. Not will Sam Altman face consequences. Not even will the laws change. The question is this: in the race to build artificial intelligence, who decided that the private information of ordinary people was an acceptable cost of doing business? Nobody voted on that. Nobody was asked. The engineers and executives who made these decisions did not hold a public debate. They did not consult ethicists in any meaningful way. They did not put a notice on your screen saying, "We would like to use everything you have ever typed to build a machine that will make us trillions of dollars. Do you consent?" They simply took it. Because they could. Because the laws allowed it. Because the technology made it easy. And because by the time anyone noticed, the empire would already be built. There is something important to understand about where we are in history right now, the decisions being made in the next 5 years about artificial intelligence, about who owns the data that trains it, about what rights individuals have over information generated by their own lives. Those decisions will shape the relationship between ordinary people and large corporations for the next half century. The $3 billion lawsuit against Microsoft and OpenAI is not just a legal case. It is a signal. It is the sound of people saying, "We did not agree to this. We want our lives back." Whether that signal turns into real change, that depends entirely on how many people are paying attention. And that raises a question I want to leave with you. If you found out tomorrow, definitively, that Microsoft had used your personal data without consent to build their AI systems, would you stop using their products? Or has the technology already become too embedded in your life for that to even be possible? Leave your answer in the comments, because that answer, that moment of honest reflection, is exactly the kind of thing the companies betting on your silence do not want you to have. This story is not finished. The lawsuit will grind through the courts. New features will be rolled out. New promises will be made. And somewhere in a boardroom in Redmond, Washington, analysts are already calculating exactly how much this will cost and how quickly the news cycle will move on. We will not move on. Next time, we are going behind the closed doors of Microsoft's original monopoly case, the antitrust battle from the 1990s that almost broke the company apart. Because if you want to understand why Microsoft behaves the way it does today, you need to understand what happened then and what they learned from almost losing everything. This is Behind the Tech. Stay skeptical, stay informed, and we will see you in the next one.